start. Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as always, alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing tonight, D-Mac?
Everybody go on Twitter and put hashtag Alabama State Champions. Alabama State Champions. Beginning of the fourth quarter. Beginning of the fourth quarter, I went on my little groups, my rivals on OU Insider. I was in my my OU alumni group, and then I was at a in another alumni group. Hey, I was pissing people off, but I said, you know what? We got to stop hoping. I'm tired of all this hoping crap. Oh, you don't hope. We believe. We make it happen. Damn it. We had just by the way, I want to talk about the penalty. I want to talk about the penalty. The penalty that wasn't called, that was a penalty that everybody says wasn't a penalty.
The cover-up?
I want to talk about
I want to get into that. Yeah, because Herbie and Fowler were in full lockstep that he wasn't covered up. Okay, we'll get there. We'll bury that. Okay.
But do me a favor, y'all. If y'all are on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you call it, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we being petty tonight. We're going bowling, by the way. I don't know if we're going or I don't know if we're going to Scottsdale. I don't know if we're going to Orlando, the Cheez-It Bowl or whatever. We're going bowling. But we need to be letting everybody in the SEC know that we are the Alabama State champions. So maybe Alabama State wants some, or, you know what I'm saying, Junior Handkerchief, University A&T of Tuscaloosa wants
Alabama A&M. Let's go, man.
The two big boys in Alabama, call us down. Yep. No, in all seriousness, good win by the team. I just felt it when we got a lead and those guys got a taste of a lead. It was important for us, and it was important for me. I just remember how I felt when I played. When we got momentum, we weren't waiting and hoping and lucky stars and, you know what I'm saying, daffodils and unicorns. Like, please, nah. We was like, nah, we about to go take this dub. Y'all gonna get y'all loss. And I just felt that, like, nah, I think it's appropriate today to give these guys some kudos and not being scared, not being weak. We didn't need to be timid. People were DMing me and stuff saying, man, I don't want to wait. I doubled down. In fact, if you go on my Twitter, you'll see.
I saw.
First play of the fourth quarter, I said Alabama State champs too soon. Then I got all these, people were like, don't do it. Like, what you mean don't do it? Double down. Damn it, we will win. And then, of course, we won. I just gave the OU smirk, So, really good win. Let's go, baby. Really good win. Good to see you, bro. I got a couple of scathing messages from folk who were a little upset we didn't do anything during the bye, guys. My fault again. Busy man all over the place. I apologize. Blame me. Don't blame Barry. But good to be back in the saddle.
Good, man. Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. And let's start. But first, it's been a second. Show's brought to you by OU Insider. OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership, y'all. It's really good stuff. It is gonna be good tonight. OU's winning the national title next year. D-Mac. I get that you're gonna see of the.
Whoa!
You're gonna see some of that. But. Let's go offense first. Defense stole the show, and we'll get there. But offensively, man, it wasn't picture perfect at all. And if there's anything that we can say since Finley has taken over, it is that there does appear to be direction, right? There appears to be some continuity, some things that they go to. And this was the first time, D-Mac, and I'd love to get your opinion on this as we go forward. This is the first time they came in and they said, we have a game plan. We have a way that we are going to attack Alabama, and we are going to stick to it come hell or high water. Now, all this fun and good until you get smacked in the mouth a couple times, then the game plan can go out the window. I think they probably had a similar game plan against Missouri. And the turnovers and things like that just sort of forced their hand late in the game. But the offense was able to be physical, which really was the surprise of the game. The line of scrimmage. Howland, guys, had his best game of the year by far. Now, a lot of it was in the run game, but having Everett looking healthy, big difference. Nwewu, 54 looked like the 54 of the first 2 or 3 games this year tonight. They had some guys. The offensive line was just moving bodies. They weren't perfect every time, but the offense was able to get into second and medium, third and short, chew some clock. And even though they didn't convert, I believe they had 3 trips in the red zone early on in the game that did not result in scores. You had a missed field goal, you had the turnover, and
And yeah, the
one
drop.
other, and yeah, the drop. That's right, on the trick play. Outside of that, once they were able to squeeze past those moments, you never felt like the offense was entirely out of sync as they have been in previous weeks. It had felt like it was just so discontent. However,
Undeniable.
yeah, even though the pass yards weren't there, the run game was really solid. The guys made catches when it felt like the catches needed to happen, and Xavier Robinson, DMAC, the OU in this game picked a guy and went with him. They said the X Rob is going to take us home. Tatum got some carries early, but when it was nut cutting time and you needed to get some yards and try to bury this team, Robinson got the carries. And it was good to see OU say, we're going to go with the personnel that we think we can win with. You had a lot of heavy packages in there with 2 tight ends, some 2 back, 2 tight end looks a lot of times. Like, there was a whole lot of big personnel in this game, and it was obvious they felt that they could run at Alabama, get on the perimeter. So DMAC, you see the game plan, you see the passing yards, ends up being 68 yards. It was efficient in terms of completions and when they needed to happen, right? You had the completion to Bauer Sharp late. You had some other balls that were just the well-timed first downs or necessary yards, but you saw the game plan. What were your thoughts? And OU was able to sort of marry the potential of what it could be to actually having success on the field against them, and why it worked. Like, why against Alabama, 7th-ranked team in the country, that they were finally able to get it done.
So a couple things come to mind, Barry. The first thing that I do want to pay homage and a lot of respect to is Joe John Finley. I think most people know I was squarely biased to Seth as a teammate, and the position was always an issue in terms of the tight end position. But guys, Joe John knows what he's doing. Joe John has gotten better. Joe John has created an identity. The first game he was our OC, I believe it was the Ole Miss game. Um, we saw, so it's just a substantial difference. And so first things first, let me just kind of capture or encapsulate what I looked at today. We saw Joe John say, hey, listen, if you can do me the favor of protecting the football, I won't put you in compromising situations. And so we'll address that
Mm,
further on. But what he eliminated right out the back, the onset of the game, is um Jackson Arnold had 100% faith in what was happening. And something that's really interesting is early in the year, we were having issue with RPOs, and Seth said, hey, we're going to take away the RPO. We're either going to do a distinguished give, a distinguished right keep, a distinguished show and throw, right? But that's not really Jackson's strength. Remember, we talked about it, like, it doesn't make sense to do this when Jackson's a guy who's done it his whole career. So Joe John said, I'm going to oversimplify the game. I'm going to give you the option to do the give, the read, or the go, or the show and throw, but I'm going to take away all that other stuff. Right? We didn't run no quick game. We didn't run no spot stuff. We didn't run none of the leech principles. I mean, we ran a double slant when we needed to, but like we
sure.
really simplified the game plan and said, Jackson, we're going to run on the edges. We're going to do a lot of mirror dressing on the edges. We're going to do a lot of these double shovels where we're showing option and we're going to shovel underneath, or we're showing, just they ran a bunch of different variations of shovel.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was
which was
interesting
smart.
seeing just
It's
yeah.
it's easy reads. It's, by the way, it's RPO reads. It's just a different throw. All of it's RPO. If the guy goes this way, you throw
Okay.
the shovel. If the guy stays, you throw the pitch, right? If the guy rolls, you keep the ball. So it was very easy for Jackson. I think that was really wise. Number two, and I always feel like I always feel like people like Mackie, shut up. You talk too much. But I'm like, how long have we been saying? How long have we been saying? I'm being honest. How long have we been
Yeah,
saying there are plays to be made and the running back is not running to daylight? By the way, we've been
100%.
saying it since week 2, and people
Yeah,
Barnes. I'm like, guys, I don't hate Barnes, but every other team in college football has players where if it's not perfect, they make something happen. And I think our fans are starting to see that when we thought it might be Tatum, maybe if it's Sawchuk. Well, guys, it was X Rob. We didn't know who it was going to be, but now our fans see, guys, we didn't get new dudes on the offensive line. Obviously, you guys heard the kudos from Kirk, the kudos from Fowler, and right, we got some help.
yeah.
Like you said, Everett back a little bit more healthy. But guys, those are the same dudes. What's
Same
happening
guys.
now is the running back is running to where they are. The other thing that's also happening is we have an offensive coordinator who's scheming up plays to get guys in positions to be successful. So I say that to say, and we said it the first time I saw X Rob, I was like, oh, he needs to get the ball, because that was a guy who, if there's nothing there, he can fall forward and get 2 or 3 pounds. If
Yep.
it's him against a little guy in the secondary, he's going to punish him. The little guy is not going to want to try to form tackle him, right?
You
And he's
saw
a
some of
guy
that
who,
tonight too,
oh, for
man. There were
sure.
some guys. Yeah, as I paid attention to that after you mentioned that about Missouri, about guys tackle him differently, and you're
Yes,
completely
yes,
right. And it
yes,
changes the tone of the game when
yes.
your team has a Josh Jacobs, big body back who's just punishing you. You're right. It changes the tone of the game.
Those nuances, those small things, right? And as much as we like Barnes, we ask ourselves, could Barnes have made stuff happen when it wasn't perfect? And Barnes is a guy you need in your stable. I hope he gets healthy. I hope he plays next week. I hope he's available. But Barnes, to me, should not come and then get the ball before X Rob does. And that's just my opinion, and we'll see how DeMarco Murray does it. But that's another key cog is X Rob. And then the other thing, is just the ability for Jackson to be a threat with his legs. Jackson ran for over 100 yards. He made
Yeah.
a lot of good reads over the course of the night. I do want to start this first portion of our pod by giving him kudos, because Lord knows the kid has been through the ringer. I think the kid's still going to transfer out. If you ask me, just big picture, right? Micro lens tonight. Let's be excited. We're in a vacuum. Let's enjoy this big picture. We need a quarterback who can run the ball and throw the ball. And so is he
Yeah.
going to get to a point where he's willing to do both? We'll see. He was damn good enough tonight. And it felt good to see Jackson, when the bullets were flying, have a little bit of that swag. You know what I'm saying? That swagger that we feel like
Yeah.
we think he has, but he hasn't
Yeah.
really exerted it in the game. Today he exerted it.
Yeah.
He had the appropriate energy at the appropriate times, and that's a good for him. I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for Venables. I'm really happy for those seniors. I'm really happy for the interlocked OU, man. Like, we need people to
Yeah.
understand, like, that interlocked OU matters, and it mattered to me. I was very proud tonight to see, my university, the team I played for, blood, sweat, tears, go out there and to be real with you, Barry, belt to ass. Like, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah. They
Belt,
whooped them.
Barry, belt to ass. Like, we should have beat you guys by more. Like, how dare us drop a
A
touchdown?
31,
How
a touch
how
in the it
dare
would have been
us
great.
missed our first field goal? You know what I'm saying? Like, we really low key.
Yeah.
And if they want to talk about the play, well, they really scored a touchdown. I don't have me pull out the rules on you, because I know the rules. And that, by the way,
Okay. Let's
the
do it.
play
Let's
the
do it
play's
right now.
illegal. The play is illegal, and the flag is at the appropriate time. Both
Okay.
are right. You want to talk about it?
So let me give the fans obviously you guys saw. So the official who was lined up on Williams' side, so it would have been bottom of the screen, Alabama going left to right. It was a trip, so it was 3 wide out there. You had 2 guys off the line of scrimmage, Williams on the line of scrimmage, and Herbie and Fowler were saying he's not covered up, which would have implied, right, that there was another guy was up. What they were implying is another receiver would have been on the line of scrimmage or somebody else along that. And they kept saying they don't understand the flag. So there's the rehash for those who maybe didn't hear the broadcast or are just now catching up with us. So it seemed, for me, D-Mac, looking at it, it did seem like 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. What's the issue? Talk about the rule and
Yep.
why it's illegal.
illegal play and the flag is at the appropriate time. So in football, you got to have five linemen and then two additional individuals on the line of scrimmage. Okay, at least two. You can have more than two, right? You can have seven, eight, how many guys you want on the line. Obviously, like on a field goal, right? You got like eight, and then you got the other guys. But you cannot on a passing down have a eligible receiver covered and not tell the ref. Let me give you an example, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
so if you go back and watch that play, they're in trips to our sideline, and I was like, I bet our coaches reminded the ref. They're in trips to our sideline. Williams is up in the middle position, but if you
Yep.
look along the line of scrimmage, there's also a tight end on this side, on the same play side. So the three receivers are on the same side. There's a tight end on the end of the line of scrimmage. The tight end is an eligible receiver. He is now covered. But you're like, well, wait a minute. But he stayed into block, right? But on a run play, an eligible passing receiver can cover up another eligible passing receiver and no one has to identify, say
Mm,
anything. You
that's
cannot
why it
do
was
that on
late.
a passing play. The ref had to wait for the
Wow.
ball to be thrown for the play to be illegal because the defense has to have notification of is this guy into block, or it's just like an ineligible, or it's like in the NFL, an eligible lineman on certain plays at the end of a lineman scrimmage, right? So when the
Mm,
play happens, if you go back and just watch a screenshot of the play pre-snap, there's trips
yep.
and there's a tight end on the same side. Okay. That's not illegal. The tight end can totally do that. It's all good. If the tight end tells the ref, hey, I'm ineligible, then the tight end is good to go too. If they run the ball, there's no penalty. But if they pass the ball and that tight end has not declared that he's an eligible receiver in an ineligible capacity, that is
Wow.
then a penalty. And so when you guys see the flag go late, it's because it's when Milrow throws the ball. Now
It's
it's a
after the
penalty.
throw.
Yep.
Now it's a penalty. I just tweeted that
Yep.
out. Y'all go share it. Trying to get people up on here. You guys, hey, tweet us out. Let people know to join the show, join the broadcast. Love seeing all the feedback tonight. Good to do this after a win. And man, at the Bauer Sharp, I got a little concerned when he got a couple throws, man, that they were going to start um, just to stick with the offense for a little bit longer. One of his better games, and really, what I want to get at and ask, it makes such a difference in your attitude and your temperament as a team when you feel like you're getting some success. You obviously came in there with high spirits. Senior nights, final home game of 2024, final home game of the inaugural SEC season, and you get some things going your way. And tell me if I'm wrong, D Matt, but you feel like you're Oklahoma again. It's there's a certain aspect of you that we've all said. I guarantee you, half you guys here, hit us in the comments, have played rec ball. And man, when you're on a team that passes the ball and intramural stuff and shots will drop, right? But man, when you're on a team, you got a ball hog, you got a guy who keeps losing his dribble, getting the ball stolen, everything's going bad. You may not suck, but dadgummit, you feel like you suck. And and OU, I think the players kind of felt like they sucked. I think there was a little bit of that, and obviously that's extreme, but that will creep in, right? You're down your five receivers. You're nothing's going right. You're turning the ball over, and it just was a calamity of errors that never seemed to stop. So talk about that mental shift, DMAC,
Yep.
from just the all of a sudden it's like it's not Maine anymore. You're moving the ball against Alabama. This is a playoff hopeful team that controls their destiny to the SEC championship and really controls their destiny to a bye week. If they win out and win the SEC, they're a first round bye. So to talk about the mindset that Oklahoma goes through when all of a sudden things are going well.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the momentum of college football. I think it speaks to the young, I like to call them young lads. I remember being a young lad, right? Like an 18 to 22-year-old's emotions, how much those impact and matter in a game. Obviously, a 60-minute game of playing college football. But it's the other side of the coin, right? We were not nearly as bad as we had played. We have 18 to 22-year-old guys who, when the momentum swung the other way, it was very difficult to get it back. It's very difficult to do that when your offense gives the ball away. You can't throw the ball. Your receivers are hurt. Your running backs don't see holes when they're there. Your offensive line is inconsistent. It took time to get some of those consistencies together. It'll be interesting to see if we can string uh, 3 wins in a row. Right. Let's see. Okay. We got Death Valley next week. We won't have our home crowd. Let's see how that goes in LSU.
Mm.
Um, but our guys are not as terrible as we've thought they were. Let's. I, 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 I don't like I don't like to talk bad about players, but I don't have a lot of great things to say about Bauer Sharp. He had a couple cool little catches at the end on some action stuff, and he actually blocked better leading up in the hole, like an H back, than he has
Yeah,
most of the season.
which is
I will,
is what they've asked him to do. He struggled against
yeah.
ends. He's much when he has a linebacker or he's helping out on a
If
tackle,
he's
he is
if
a
he's
lot
leading
better.
if he's leading through the hole and has a natural angle, they also would put him in a short motion, like a cockeyed, like a sniffer. They'd start him
Mhm.
out and then they'd sniffer him in, and then he could just chip on his way out. That helped a lot too. So I think it's good by Joe John to really, okay, these are the things you do well. We're going to put you in a position to do those and not
Yeah,
ask you to do things you don't do well, which is an inline. He's a terrible inline into the line of scrimmage blocker.
not good.
Um, but the momentum thing's good. And listen, I'm just telling everybody, it helps so much when you have a running back that things don't have to be perfect, or it helps so much when you have a running back that when the play is designed to go play side and he naturally feels the bend back the other way and he hits it right, the fans are like, it wasn't blocked well. Running backs are supposed to run to daylight. And I just can't emphasize how much of a difference it is to have a young lad like X Rob come in and do that, and kind of just like, I don't, I'm just gonna get the ball and go with or not. It makes a huge difference because when you start to
Yeah,
build those are little building blocks, Barry. And like you said, it doesn't matter if you're playing intramural ball, pee wee football. It doesn't matter if you're coaching it. Even pee wee coaches can feel like, oh, their guys are losing a little of their edge. Let's press a little more. Oh, you could see Alabama losing their edge. And obviously, we'll talk about the defense and how we just took their heart on defense. But on the offensive side of the ball, it was really important. It was really important. By the way, is as important as that interlocked OU is, so was that cursive A. This game does not mean as much if it's Missouri. This game does not mean as much if
100%.
it's as if it's even Ole Miss. Ole Miss is salute. Ole Miss is having a good season. Obviously, they got their ass kicked today too by Florida. But
Yep.
Alabama is the pinnacle of the SEC. Alabama had the inside track to the college football
Yeah.
playoffs, to the SEC championship. So it wasn't as if this was a game that Alabama could just say, "Oh, we're just going to show up," and like they were not in a position where they could just take a Saturday off. Alabama found out in the first quarter they were going to be in for a fight, and we beat their ass. Does that make sense? Like, you like, yo, we
Yeah.
gonna fight after school. It's not like you sucker punch somebody and then they get knocked out, right?
Yeah.
Alabama found out in the first quarter that they were in for a fight, and Alabama bowled up like, all right, bet, let's fight. And we still beat them up. That's important. The SEC is watching all those little sister schools that are like, oh, Oklahoma, da 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 da. We just took on the bully, one of the bullies, and like we literally beat them up. And so we gotta swing some, well, we gotta string some wins together. But from a psyche standpoint, recruits saw that. We
Yeah.
gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about the atmosphere, right? There's a ton of 2025,
100%.
2026, 2027. Those guys saw that. Some of the guys who
Yeah.
were on the fence, some of those guys like, oh, wait, we don't suck, right? Some of those guys saw that. And the other schools in the SEC are like, okay, Oklahoma, we got to respect them because we're
Yeah.
not Vanderbilt. We're not Mississippi State. We're not Florida. With all due respect to some of Florida's recent history, we're not. Matter of fact, the only school in the SEC who can talk chops, legendary, past, and just comprehensive is Bama. There's no one else in the SEC that
That's
can
it.
talk. So if OU gets their pride back, which was why guys, you gotta I just, show me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just one of those guys who, and I like to practice what I say. Like, I just felt like, God dang it, we're not losing this game. We have the momentum. We're not going to find a way to lose. I am going to be, I don't know if I was the first person, but I am going to publicly put my name on the line and say, we're going to freaking win. And I didn't care. Everybody was like, no, don't, no, I'm not tired of hoping. Damn it. I don't want to hope. We're going to win.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys, when we played and when we had J-Dub and Sam, people were like, oh, we're going to find a way to win. God dang it. We got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Our guys feel it. I just felt the personal, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just personally felt like I can't be out here hoping. We're not doing hopium today. We talked about hopium, Missouri. Missouri was hopium. Nah, bro.
For sure.
Y'all signed up for a fight. Y'all put y'all gloves on like we did. Y'all swung. We swung. Went back to our corners. And then we whooped that. And it's a big win. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Absolutely, man. And dude, you're right. A lot of recruits in the house. It's not really the analogy is a little weak, and I'll admit that. But man, when just from a recruiting standpoint, when Clemson's 2014 O-line went in and just kind of whooped Oklahoma in that kind of pointless bowl game, there were people who recruits specifically, because that's when Clemson's defensive line recruiting really took off. There were recruits who saw that and said, man, this is the spot that we need to be coming to. And tonight, as we move over to the defensive side of the ball, that is the kind of game, that is the kind of atmosphere, the kind of plays are. It is the best game since BV has arrived that the defensive ends have ever had as a group. Ford, Downs, Thomas, Woolard, even in there. He wasn't as active on the pass rush stuff, but he was still pressuring guys, helped a lot in the run game. He was a good breather for Downs when Downs needed to come out. But it was a massive game. And also, guys like Jackson, Terry, Stone, they weren't just filling the gaps, DMAC. This was against an elite team, an elite group of players, 1 year removed from. These are still Saban guys right here. Yes, the portal's a real thing, but a lot of these players held serve because they know if they stay at Alabama, just on sheer talent alone, you're going to have success. The defensive line for Oklahoma whooped their tail. Jackson just punished a running back. I don't think Jaden ends up missing the tackle on Milroe in the backfield, but I almost think he didn't realize he was going to be in that position because I didn't think he was going to whip it almost surprised him that, shoot, here I am. But the defensive line dominated the game against a top 10 opponent. You had guys in the stands who are watching this, 25, 26, and then some 27 guys out there too, who are also some elite D-line recruits. And you're seeing that. Kip Lewis, interception, pick six. He didn't finish the game. Hopefully that's all good.
He came back.
He did come back. Did he come back? Okay. I didn't see that. So he comes back in. He has a phenomenal game. One of Stutzman's better games he's ever had as a Sooner. And he really set the tone. That first hit he had on Milroe was we're coming here to play some football tonight. And you know what? We're a big, nasty front too. And it set the tone. The guys, the Eli Bowen, Ryan Williams was worth the price of admission. And OU put a lot. They did Des Malone, but I believe it was Des, Jacoby, and Eli were really the stars of the show at that corner spot. Des got a lot more run tonight. Don't feel like I saw a lot of Kanai. Could have just been a miss.
Like one or two possessions. He had a couple.
Yeah,
possessions,
but this was a game, DMAC, where it felt like the starters were told, go out there and take us home. Right? Go out there. You guys are going to play a boatload of snaps. You know, Eli, even on the catch Williams did have, which, man, if that was illegal, that was a just superstar stud play. But that was one of those, like, you just got to give it up. Eli wasn't in awful position. It was just killer receiver against a very good up-and-coming, both of them are up-and-comers, very good young cornerback. But on the defensive side of the ball, OU dominated in a way that they have not dominated a top 10 opponent in a really long time. So I want you to go into game plan, right? What do you think the messaging was? What do you think the focus was in this game that allowed OU to honestly play loose? It was some of the freest they've played. They were able to get that lead. And once it was 17-3, it felt like the defense just was playing with their hair on fire. It was a little tight early, but man, the RMT started turning it up. Ethan Downs got back there. You had some killer plays, and they were mixing up the pressures with Bowen and Bowman and Stutz in the A gap. They had Lewis on some stuff. McKenzie had a lot of solid run tonight. So talk about game plan, the messaging to the defense. And this is really what OU fans expected when Venables took over. This is the kind of stuff that you wanted to see. Talk about it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not playing from behind. When you're playing from behind, the other team is dictating tempo. The other team is dictating the style of play, and generally they want to lean on you and action off of that. They want to put you in compromising situations. And when you're playing from behind, you can't pin your ears back. I think something we learned tonight, and I think it's really important to say, is we got some pretty good DNs that can go chase the Q when they know it's going to be a pass, or they don't have to worry about giving up, right, the C gap, right, or giving up the edge, because one run can extend a drive. When we got the lead, we were able to tell our DNs, go get them. And you saw Trace Ford come back like he looked like the guy from 2 years ago at Okie State. I mean, RMT, right? You dipping that shoulder. By the way, Downs, man, just playing a hell of a game. Wood had some great plays. He got held a couple times. 65 is a difference maker. Relativity matters. 65 makes Dominic look serviceable, and Dominic's
Is
a really good
is
player.
is Jaden? I'm trying to think of the other. Is Jaden potentially the best zero in the SEC? I'm
I
trying
don't
to think
know.
who else
I
is
don't.
out there.
I
I
wouldn't know.
yeah, guys, hit in the comments who else because man, he is just obviously he's had a year. His consistency has been just the thing that you almost want to highlight, right? It's every game he makes plays.
Jaden can beat his man one on one. He's a guy that you have to double, or he's going to wreak havoc consistently, possession to possession, like as a true freshman. Stone, by the way, Stone's coming up. Stone got held a couple times. He got held a couple times. They didn't call. The D line is going to be nasty in the years to come. But to your point, I think the biggest thing is today we weren't immediately playing from behind, which kills two things, right? Kills your psyche, and then it kills your ability to make the other team one dimensional. They keep you two dimensional, where they can be, or the other team can be two dimensional, run, pass, then action off of run. That makes it very difficult on your defense. But when you get a lead, and one thing that I was just like, God, BV, he's breaking a lot of his tendencies. Go look, he was a lot of single high tonight. I mean, Kirk said it early in the game. He said, "Hey, we're going to put our guys on some islands." And what he meant by that is he was not going to leave a lot of air for Milrow to have. If you think about it, if you've got six defenders in the box, right? Okay, here we go. Let's do some X's and O's in football. There's two A gaps, two B gaps, two C gaps. And C gaps is really the alley, and then you got the edge, right? That's eight ways. Generally, teams like to play a 42 or 43. Sometimes we'll play a 33 or a 42, which means a 42 means four down, two backers in the box. And then you got an overhang or a nickel. Okay. Big overhang, it's a cheetah. Little overhang, it's generally Woody, right? So these are, but if you count those guys total, how many is that total, Barry? A 42 and an overhang. How many total guys
You
is
got
that?
seven guys.
Seven.
You got seven
How many
guys.
total gaps are there? Eight.
There's 8. Yeah.
So pre-snap, if BV says, no, we're not even about to play this game today, we're gonna bring that safety backside C gap in the box. That way he can trail play side, and then the quarterback feels him. He feels like another backer up. He knows he can't leak that way because there's somebody coming. That just totally killed their ability to use the quarterback to run the ball. And that's why he ended. I think Milrow ends the game with 7 yards or something ridiculous. 2 yards, 7 yards. It's because we got out of our too high safety look shell. We got out of the shell and we brought that safety down, and we went 8 in the box. And I could just see, I said, God dang, Billy's backside C gap pre-snap. And he's not at 9, he's out like 7. And it put our corners in positions where they were going to be 1v1. But it put Milrow in a position where he was not going to be the difference maker with his legs and his arm. And so, great job by coach. You're right. We mixed it up a ton where we had the backers up, we had the backers outside, we had the backers off at like 6 sometimes, inviting them to run the football. We had the backers up at like 3 sometimes, essentially saying we're not going to let you run your wham. They run a lot of wham stuff, which means the tight ends coming across. If the backers are up, you blow it up in the hole. There's no space. The running back can't get through. Very, very, very good job by the pup as our DC, and by BV and his preparation. You could just tell the guys looked like they were ready to play. They weren't scared. They were aggressive. They were on edge. And those are all precursors of letting you know these guys are going to be prepared to play. Phenomenal job. By the way, somebody brought up Jason Terry. I know I wish Terry.
Oh,
Terry had a great game.
Deshaun Terry. Yeah. Great
Okay,
game.
call him DJ. Yep, he had a great game. Just some guys who I think the whole D line was the best unit on the field. I loved the way there were some plays where Danny got exposed and Kip had his back, and there were some plays where Kip got exposed and Danny had his back, and it was really good to see those two guys feed off one another. McKenzie's in again. I don't think there's anything bad to say about McKenzie, but no wow plays. But it's really good for him to be a factor in those type of games. And then I think the coaches erred right between let me say names: Des Malone, Little Bowen, I know, right, and Jacoby. I think those three are our 3 better corners, and I think it's very clear going into next season, we will have 2 entrenched corners with Eli and Jacoby. We'll have an entrenched safety, and I think Bowen played a lot more high tonight, if you go back and watch. So it'll be an entrenched safety with Bowen at high safety and RSJ as the box safety. So you're seeing a lot, and obviously I think Kip takes on the mantle from Stutz as being the dude at the backer position. We got a lot of young guys who are going to be coming up. Defense looks good. We got to keep all those guys in. We got to go we got to portal a D tackle, portal another D end. We probably got to portal a backer, just because there's not really a lot of depth behind McKenzie.
You need the depth,
the depth behind McKenzie and Kip. Obviously Lewis Carter's gotten some run, but the defense is here's what I want to hear people stop saying. I don't want to hear people talking about the defense is overrated. You try playing defense when your offense can't throw the ball, can't run the ball, can't hold on to the ball. I want to see you try. You try playing defense against a very physical conference where people are going to run the ball and they're going to make some plays, right? When our offense doesn't piss down their leg and give the ball away on first turnovers, and our running backs can run the daylight and move the chains. I think it's pretty good to say that I don't know that I say championship caliber defense yet, but we got a pretty damn good defense.
But man, it's pretty daggum close. It's not far off. Like I want to go through real quick. We're obviously almost to the end of the year, but we'll do this just for the sake of it, right? So just SEC, Auburn, you hold them to 27. Texas was really a game where defense played well early, and then it just got away. The 34. South Carolina, they had 35 points, but 21 of them were off of the turnovers, right? And that was a game where it just snowballed. But you hold Ole Miss to 26, right? And then and I believe another one of those was off a turnover. And then Mizzou, you hold them to 23 offensive points, right? They had the pickup, the fumble recovery for the score. And then Alabama tonight, man, you hold them to 3, and you're laying the building blocks. And what we've seen is that offense is something that you can flip around in a season, right? You can go from not having a good quarterback, see Miami, see SMU, see really any team in the country, right? Clemson with a good Klubnik, totally different than a Clemson with Klubnik who's just turning the ball over all over the place and not able to get anything done. And the hard part, DMAC, is building a defense with a strong defensive line, because you've got to have depth. You've got to be able to go really 8 guys. And that was one of the things that Herb Street highlighted in this game was the OU's depth on the defensive line and the ability to run bodies out there. This is Venable's vision when he got to OU sort of coming to fruition, right? You wish it would be married to some better offensive football, but that's just not the case as of yet. So if this team, and we'll do this to kind of catapult into talking about what's maybe down the road. I do want to touch on a few more things before we move on from this game. But the defensive foundation and the groundwork has been laid to win some big time games in the SEC. Right, you're at 6 wins. You're going to get the bowl game this year. There's a you got something to kind of pin this season. There was some good that happened, right, in a season where you had the lone SEC win against Auburn, right? Now you've gone down the track and you get the next win against Alabama, and we talked about in the show, 2-0 against the state of Alabama. You've got something to hang your hat on. Let's talk a little bit more about the weeks to come and what it's going to look like with Jackson and this game plan. Obviously tonight it worked. Is OU able to take this same game plan with Jackson, really devoting to running the ball, not going to pass it a whole bunch, going to play keep away, going to be smart with the clock management? Can they use this same brand of football and go down to Death Valley and get a win?
So college football is a copycat sport like the NFL is. LSU is going, well, if you read the data, right, of the game, the data points, they're going to say, OU rushed for over 260 yards. OU threw for under 70 yards. What do we want to force OU to do? They're going to say, we want OU to do what? They're going to say, we want OU to run. So, and if you know LSU style of play, LSU has no issue playing cover 0, cover 1. LSU has no issue playing cover 0, cover 1, up, bump, hard bump. And when you look at our receivers, what do you see? Brennan got hurt today, so that's a little bit more of your depth and your explosion gone, right? You've got Kearney, true freshman. You've got Jacobs, true freshman, and you've got Hester, which I heard he limped off the field or something, right? So if I'm LSU, I do exactly what we did to Alabama to us, and I say, hey, we're going to play hard bump the whole game. We've got better athletes on the outside on defense than they do on the outside on offense, and we are going to pound Jackson Arnold. If I'm OU, that's what I'm banking on LSU doing, and their crowd is going to love it. Them playing physical and playing, with a lot of fervor in that game is something that's going to be exciting for their crowd. It's going to be the last game of the season. I don't know, I don't know what they have yet to play for. I mean, obviously it could potentially be a better bowl, but who cares about bowl games now that there's a playoff with 12 teams, right? OU cares because we wanted to get into it. LSU's already in it. So to answer your question, I would expect LSU to come prepared to stop the run. And again, I want to enjoy tonight, but here I go, right? I always do this to myself. But can I just ask a dumb question? Am I okay to ask it, guys? Are you okay if I ask a dumb
Let's
question?
go, man. Hey, it's after 11 o'clock, so we're good.
Here we go. And it's kind of inappropriate, but I'm going to do it anyway. What if we run okay, so going into this game, Jackson has had a lot of unforced errors, right? In this game, it was pretty clear we were not going to make a lot of difficult passes. We were not going to try any very complex reads, complex route combos. It was pretty obvious we were doing a ton of QB run, right? It was all that was pretty obvious. The hope we all had, and which made me feel confident in the third quarter when Jackson hadn't turned the ball over. I was like, okay, Jackson's going to hold onto the ball. But that exact same game plan, instead of a 4-7-1, 4-6-8 quarterback running it, what happens if we had a 4-4-1 quarterback? If we're gonna be QB run, here we go. If we're gonna be QB run, help me understand. Let me just ask a dumb question. Who's the better runner of the football, Hawkins or Arnold?
Yep. It's
I'm
Hawkins.
asking you.
Hawkins is the better runner. Now, who can have a command of the line of scrimmage, know what they need to get done, galvanize the guys? I don't know. I'm kind of reaching, right? I'm just being
you're
devil's
you're
advocate.
you're projecting because of today, which is fine because Jackson earned the right to start against LSU. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah,
But what I am saying is going into this game, there was no justification for Arnold to just be the guy. And the game plan was to oversimplify and do a lot of QB run. Those
yeah,
kind of sound like the attributes of Hawkins. In fact, I would even double down in saying Hawkins played better when they had that style for him. He made mistakes in the South Carolina game because they kind of opened the playbook, right? There was more action
hmm
stuff and him to have reads and stuff. And I'm not advocating for Hawkins at this point. Jackson earned the right to be the starter against LSU, I think, and I
for
think it's
sure.
game by game.
Yeah,
I think it's quarter by quarter. I think if Jackson pisses down his leg, Hawkins may jump back in the game again. But I'm just saying the game plan that they created. There's a play. Jackson goes for 40 yards. And I'm like, oh hell yeah! But I'm in the back of my head. I'm like, dang, if that was Hawkins, he scored a touchdown. And by the way, we don't score in the possession. It's still they run
oh
QB
yeah,
lead,
yeah.
and Bauer Sharp leads up in the hole, does a great block. Uh, uh,
Oh
um,
yeah.
Jackson gets skinny, what we always want Barnes to do. But if you guys go watch, guys, Jackson
It
is a
breaks the
pretty
tackle.
good.
He
He gets
yeah,
skinny in the hole, bro. He gets skinny in the hole, gets up out of it, and the guy catches him because he kind of stumbles. If that's Hawkins, Hawkins is bumping his head on the goalpost. And I don't want to
yeah.
stir the pot tonight. All I'm saying is the game plan they created sounds like a game
Oh
plan.
man.
Maybe it's one where if either has to play, they know they feel comfortable with both. In fact, I'll end it with that. Um, but I do know this. I don't think we can beat LSU in Death Valley not throwing the football. And so I
Yeah,
think in Death Valley, LSU is going to force us to throw. I mean, think about it. That's what we just did to Milrow, and Milrow can throw. He's actually a serviceable thrower of the ball. We're going to
yeah.
find out next Saturday if Jackson's back to being a serviceable thrower of the ball for us.
Man, I want to circle back to that before we get fully out of this. Milrow came into this off of a just electric LSU performance, right? And against Georgia, he was, I mean, utterly outstanding. What goes into let me ask this. Like, let's really get into the player, the week to week mindset, because we know, right? Myself as a performance coach, you as a player, coach yourself, you know that the game is won and lost in the preparation of the week, right? That's you either win or lose the game on what you do Sunday through Friday, more so than what you do on Saturday, right? Everything dictates your performance. So my question is, what extra juice, what extra stuff, what was there? Just did it feel like additional wrinkles, additional focus? But when it came to being able to stop a guy like Milrow, who just, I mean, Kirby Smart's defense was torched by this guy. So there we go, man. That's what's in the cup. About to
Seltzer
go
water
give me a
tonight. Seltzer
LaCroix
water.
while you start going.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
alcoholic beverages. No alcoholic
There
beverages.
you go, man. So talk about it, DMAC.
Yep.
What do you think the week looked like? Obviously, you guys. I'm trying to think of your senior day games. You guys really didn't have any senior day games that were, against a Bama type opponent. It was usually like Texas Tech or Baylor, or an opponent like that. But Oklahoma State, I think another one.
No,
So
we played
talk
Okie
about.
State on the road. Anyway, I know, 0-1. 0-1, we lost to Okie State right before the Big 12 championship. We lost. Oh, terrible
Was
loss.
that senior
Anyway,
night? That was senior
yeah,
night,
see,
wasn't
it
it?
was a game before the
Wow,
Big
it's
12
final home
championship.
game.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it
right.
sure was. Um,
Oof.
yeah,
Talk
you know
about it.
what?
Preparation.
For sure. Joe John is doing a good job. Joe John put So when I think about the Mizzou game, we had a lot of complex throws down the field. The Mizzou game, we did a lot of inside outside zone. This game, we did a lot of action. We did a lot of eye candy, putting people in motion and running the ball the other way. Putting them in situations where we were running an option style with a shovel, or looking like we were going to run some type of counter, then the quarterback is countering off the running back. And so it was really good to see Joe John say, hey, let's show Bama things they hadn't seen before. We really ran 4 or 5 concepts that we haven't used all year. And so again, I think they were throwing the kitchen sink at Bama, giving them a lot to think about. What the game told me tonight is we put Bama's defenders in positions that they hadn't practiced all week. Their Sunday through Thursday preparation was preparation for stuff they didn't see a ton of tonight. That is a for sure. You got to salute the offensive coordinator for giving us the confidence to do that. It's why we're able to get a lot of success. The question is, can he do it again? Right now that there's film of us running a lot of that motion action QB lead, that motion action outside spin, that motion action sprint option with the shovel pass underneath, which by the way didn't work a ton, but it would gave Bama something to think about. Um, it was really supportive of tonight. How is LSU? I'm just telling you, if I'm LSU, I go 8 in the box. I mean, think about it. LSU's like, coach, I got a true freshman who has 4 catches. I don't know how many catches Kearney has, right? 6 catches. And then there's another true freshman. He's 5'9", and he wears 88 in college. Like, who wears 88 in college? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just telling you that I'm telling you what they're saying, right? They're watching the film like,
Yeah.
this dude's 5'9" and runs a
Uh,
4.6. This dude's a true freshman with 6 catches. Like, coach, just let us man them up. You guys take care of. That's what I anticipate. If I'm Joe John, if I'm BV, that's what I am anticipating LSU is going to do, which means we have to come and prep for something other than that. And so what the game plan will be, if we run the same game plan, I don't know that it's going to see the same success. But
yeah.
I do know this. The offensive line is pretty clear on who they need to get. I do know this. X Rob's going to run where they're not. I do know this. If X Rob gets to the second level, he's going to fall forward or he's going to run through some trash. And those are things we were begging for. By the way, I think X Rob we beat teams like Houston and Tulane by a touchdown or two just because there's more drives where he's just going to pick up yards where it's 2nd and 3 versus 2nd and 8. When it's blocked well, he's going to be one-on-one with the safety who's not going to want to tackle him, and he's going to kind of skip out of it, and he's going to go for 40, go for 50. And so he is a game changer. As a true freshman, guys, X Rob, just like Eli Bowen, they're both game changers. The kid, did you see the play he makes on that interception? By the way, that's him. It's
Yeah.
3v2. There's 3 receivers for 2 DBs. Pre-snap, he knows a quarterback's job is to throw that. He beats the receiver. He could have easily gotten himself blocked and tried to help. He taps the ball to himself. He doesn't pick it clean. He doesn't mid it. The ball's in the air. He taps it to himself. He taps it, then he snatches it. Guys, that's special. That's Ryan Williams on defense. Like a true
Yeah.
freshman
That was
has
a
the
Derek Strait high level, high
third-year
IQ level
starter,
play.
third-year
Yeah.
starter type play, bro. Like, yeah, that's big time.
That was a big
So
time play.
having those kind of guys do that is going to be helpful to us. And I just want to show some love, Ozita. Remember about 3, 4 weeks ago, and they were talking so much
Buddy.
trash, and I was like, guys, Ozita's kind of, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of. And Howland, you were showing his steps, so he fixes his steps. What does that look like? Like,
Yeah.
guys, these guys who were terrible against I wouldn't say terrible, but inexperienced against Ole Miss, and like those guys are practicing, right? And they're getting better. That's going to be quality depth. We still need to bring in 2 or 3 portal guys. We still need to hold on to our top O-line recruits. Hopefully they watched. I heard one of the big time guys was at Texas instead of at our game. Hopefully he saw like, hell yeah, OU won. And hopefully he's talking smack over there. Like, yeah, my team won. But we've got some quality depth. And by the way, I don't know if I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, but sometimes addition by subtraction, right? We've been talking about
Facts.
Sexton and Taylor all this time, like they weren't there, and these guys are doing okay. So maybe they come back and there's even more depth, or maybe there's better players than them. And so
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that stuff matters. All that stuff comes
Yeah,
into
man.
play.
I think a big part of it was so fans were upset on the Howland call out on the footwork and things like that. But man, for those who have been listening, I've been highest on Howland almost more than any. I've thought Howland from the moment he got to campus had the ability to be an absolute stud. To me, he had some of the best feet of that class. He was a guy who's going from tight end, a long body, quick foot offensive tackle, which is like prime time real estate. And you got a coach like Schmidt. I'll tell you this, Howland wouldn't even be in the ballpark if the previous guy was still the strength and conditioning coach. This was what Schmitty did for Lane Johnson, he is doing for and Orlando Brown, he's doing for Logan Howland. For Logan, it's going to be, can he get the mental, the football side, right? Can he get to playing left and or right tackle, wherever his future is? Can he do that? It also felt like the O-line just had some continuity.
Yep.
It felt like these guys, D-Mac, and tell me if you disagree, it felt like for the past 2.5, 3, really since that bye week, that or really since the Missouri week plus the bye, that these guys, there was some continuity of the practices, right? That these guys have been the players working together as the ones, as the main group. And that also just reminded me too. I mean, it looked like there was an actual bye week before this game this time, right? It looked like OU came in
I got you.
like you expected the last bye week they had. And to me, that just says that the continuity on the offensive side of the coaching staff, the plan of attack, what you want to get to, what you want to focus on, what are we going to be good at? I think you said it early on in the year. There's no go-to, right? There was no bread and butter. And the biggest difference, the thing that they have improved on so much, DMAC, and honestly, it's allowed the defense to play better too. Even in the Missouri game, they were able to do it. Against Maine, you saw it, and Ole Miss for sure, is they've been able to get to second and third and short. And so often in the first 4 or 5 games, man, they were playing third and long, second and long every single drive, and being behind the sticks. And now you don't have that issue. So since we got to win, and we haven't done it in a little bit, DMAC, feels like now that, and honestly, there hasn't been a whole lot of guys. Let's do a couple gorilla nuts, offensive and defensive side of the ball. I'm kind of throwing this at you, but I know there's a lot of guys to choose from. So let's go defensive side of the ball. I will let you go first. I'll let you have the honors. Defensive side of the ball. Hey, guys, in the comments, hashtag gorilla nuts. Go over to X, hashtag Gorilla Nuts. Who had the Gorilla Nuts play? And it's not necessarily the MVP for those unfamiliar. It's not necessarily the best player, but a Gorilla Nuts style play, drive, moment, a string of plays, the guy who personified toughness and grit and timing, right? Who rose to the occasion. Guys, say it in the comments. DMAC, who you got on defense?
Easy peasy. We're up 10-3. We feel like we wasted a lot of opportunities in the first quarter, and young lad, true freshman, 3v2. They throw the quick screen out there, and he reads it pre-snap. He knows at the snap of the ball they're trying to throw that quick screen to the receivers, and he's a little guy, so if they get their hands on him, he's in trouble. He beats him with speed. He hits the ball, tosses it to himself, and essentially says the defense is going to help us win the game, right? It was really good to see the offense put us in a position to have some success after kind of screwing up in the first quarter. But when Eli Bowen makes that play, it 100% puts Kip in a position where he say, "Hey, bro, hold my beer," right? Because Kip's like, if you can do one, I can do one better. But it's Eli Bowen who does it first. He's a true freshman playing high school football last year. He's a 5'9" kid, probably runs a 4.5, but he has that knack, that savvy. He has, you know what he has? He has gorilla nuts, and he's had them since they put him on the field. And it was a really good exercise to see him do that tonight in practice. Eli Bowen, honorable mention for me would be Jaden. Though
Okay.
if you watch the game like I watched the game, guys, he's an ass. The reason our DNs can get pressure is because they've got to go 3v2 against our 0-on-3 technique.
I think Herbie even highlighted that tonight. Um, I'm pretty sure they highlighted that in the broad. I'm going to go back and see what the discussion was on. Obviously, it'd be no fun if I went Eli Bowen. Feels like the obvious answer. I'm going to go final home game, senior night for this guy who's been a mainstay. Sooner fans love him. He's also got a pretty popular podcast out there as well. And he set the tone for the night, right? He flexed those gorilla nuts right off the bat and has had a hell of a career. Going to be one of those guys, DMAC, I think in the right system and the right coaching, may be a better NFL player than college player. And just because I think his athleticism, I think his size is what it needs to be. But I'm gonna go Danny Stutzman. Tonight he was a leader for the defense. He galvanized the group. He had a kneel down gorilla nuts moment, right? Where you're just final home game on Owen Field. You want to soak it in for a second. You don't allow a touchdown by one of the better offenses in college football and against some of the best talent out there, and you hold them to 3 in your final home game as a Sooner. And honorable mention for me is going to be RMT, right? He You talk about a guy who just the last quarter of a game, he just has that extra gear. Man, we heard this was when he first arrived to campus. So those of you who maybe are newer to the show, he was the best pass rusher, and it really wasn't even close when BV arrived, is what we had heard. That he was, from everything they saw, he was the best pass rusher on the team. He just did not have the weight. He didn't have the college level strength yet. He was not where he needed to be. And then we all know the injuries, the nagging stuff. But man, you talk about a guy who, even when he doesn't affect the play, was affecting the play. And really honorable mention to all the defensive ends, but RMT for sure. Um, Offensive side of the ball, and I may steal the thunder on this one. I'll go first on this one, but I'm sure the fans will agree. Many of them. It's got to be X Rob. This is your first game to really go out and get some big time carries against a big time team, and you show out. You're not afraid of the moment. You don't put the ball on the ground. You're strong through the hole. You you flex the gorilla nuts, man. You go out there and you make it happen. And to have that kind of pressure put on your shoulders as a young true freshman, this was a must-win game, because in Death Valley it's going to be hard as hell. This was a must-win football game, and for OU to go get it done in the style that they did, if Xavier Robinson doesn't play in this game, I don't know if OU wins. I really think it's that simple. So I'm going to go Xavier Robinson. Honorable mention, you could probably throw a few guys on the offensive line there, and obviously QB. But DMAC, who's your guy on offense?
Gorilla Nuts, offensive player of the game, or individual of the game, or person of the game. And I'm probably gonna ruffle some feathers here again. I don't care. I'm just talking about this game. This game. Offensive Gorilla Nuts of the game. If you take X Rob, who's a great pick, it's Coach Beatonbow and Joe John Finley. Those guys got that offensive line, that unit, that scheme, that game plan. Our offensive line was the better offensive line in the game tonight. Ozita, Howland, 54. By the way, Brown. I think Brown was playing a lot of right tackle. And whoever they rotated in there, those guys played well. Regardless of how we feel about the OC hunt, which obviously we're going to be hiring an OC in a couple of weeks, Joe John showed his ass tonight. Regardless of how we feel about Beatonbow and how he has been as a position coach this year, everybody's personal feelings. Um, Beatenbo got them boys ready to play against a front that front has went blow for blow. I'm talking about Alabama's defensive front. They've gone blow
Yeah.
for blow with the tip top of the SEC, and
Mm,
our offensive line dominated them, belt to cheeks. Literally, 11-year-old who stuck his finger in his hand in the cookie jar. And your mama said, "Don't get them damn cookies," and you did it anyway. And you did it again, and guess what she did? She went and got that belt. And she put belt to cheeks. That's what happened tonight. Our offensive line was like mama, big mama, giving little man a butt whooping because he lost his way. And so I gotta give props to Coach Beatenbow. I gotta give props to Joe John Finley. That offensive line as a unit. And you said something that's very pertinent, Barry. Um, it would have been a totally different situation if Jackson Arnold's in a bunch of set 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 10s. If we're in those, we're in trouble because now he's got to throw the ball to move to keep possession of the football. Because we're in 3rd and 2s, because we're in 2nd and 4s, it really kept us ahead of the chains and gave us the ability to beat them with, again, window dressing, a lot of motion, a lot of counter stuff, a lot of shovel concepts. And that's an attribute to a really good game plan. That's an
yeah.
attribute to what we discovered in Ole Miss and has been compounding ever since, guys. It's an identity. I think Coach Venables is letting us. Let me say this last thing, Barry. I think Coach Venables is telling us the offense he wants. I don't think they're running this solely because of injuries to receiver. I think this is the style of offense we want to run. I'm talking about 22
Interesting.
personnel. I'm talking about 21 personnel, right? I'm talking about two tight ends and leading through the hole and QB run. Now, if we can slow it down a little bit and not kick our own selves in the butt when we're not playing well by running a minute and a half possessions, I think we can do, we got to get better players. We get better players and we get our younger guys more experience. That's a scheme and show we can throw the ball. But the
Yeah.
guys, we showed a competent run scheme tonight, which we hadn't seen the first 6 games of the season. It was really a competent scheme. We were able to run inside when we needed to. We ran a lot of QB lead into the A gap and some into the B gap. We ran a lot of stuff on the edges, right? We ran a lot of the zone sweep, right? Where the quarterback's holding it. It stretches the line and then he lets it go at the last minute and X Rob can get around the gate, right? We're running a lot of those concepts that create a full foundation on a run scheme. I think that's some of the stuff we want. I think Arbuckle runs some of that stuff. The guy in Tulane runs some of that stuff, right? Some of the OCs that we are kind of getting to the end of this OC search, that is some of the bones of what they like to do. So, offensive gorilla nuts. If you're gonna take X Rob, I was gonna say the O line, but Nomad beat me to it. Nomad, I saw that. Um,
There you
I,
go.
I think it's beating Bo and Joe John. If we're gonna beat those guys up and beat up the coaches when they don't do the good things, I think we gotta sing their praises when they do. We gotta be
Facts.
bipartisan in this. We gotta be honest in this. We gotta be transparent on
Yeah.
both sides. I wish somebody would say that beating Bo didn't have those guys prepared tonight. Today, that Joe John didn't have a scheme that was really going to highlight the things Jackson does well and really hide and not put him in position to do the things he doesn't. So shout out to those guys. By the way, I got one last thing. Sorry
Go
for
for it, man.
the community who's saying, "Oh, I knew X Rob needed to start." Guys, X Rob is a true freshman, dude. There's a lot of stuff that he has to learn, and I can guarantee you, I'm not even pretty sure. I can guarantee you, he's gotten more comfortable. The game has slowed down, and he's gotten a comprehensive understanding of what he's had to do because of inside drill for the last 2 months, because of 7-on-7 the last 2 months, because of blitz period where he's figuring out where he needs to be, right? That's a lot of stuff. You don't just learn all that in spring. Spring is foundation. You're just running your stuff. Season, you have to run your stuff off their scheme. It's a different game. It's a totally different game, right? And so him getting acclimated to class, all these different things. I don't think there's an issue with his arc so much. I do believe that
No.
if we don't have issues, he never sees the field, which is unfortunate. But God is good. You know what I'm saying? All the time. And all the time, God is good. And
Yeah.
so injuries did happen, and we got to see his talents sooner. I think he's a guy who could be a 3-4 year starter. And so salute to
Oh
him to
yeah,
have an
for sure.
opportunity. But I don't hold there's a lot of things I hold to some of the the personnel decisions at the running back position. The fourth team true freshman lower tiered running back, there is some politics there, right? So you got two
Yeah.
returning guys, you got a 5-star number one running back. I mean, that kid, I don't have that's as a true freshman, I'm not seriously upset. I'm just pleasantly surprised that we found out we've got a stud. And I would be surprised if he takes a backseat to anybody moving forward. If that happens, then I'll have an issue.
Yeah, and he also too. I mean, I said it when OU was recruiting him that his senior year, man, he
You
almost
did.
ate his way out of a out of a lineup. Like he needed to clean up his body a lot, man. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he was having a tough time just getting through practices physically from what the running backs have to be able to do. You've talked about it, right, with Schmitty, the times you've got to be able to hit. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the kind of guy who wasn't hitting those times, right? He had put on quite a bit of bad weight, and the expectations for skill position players, your running back at Oklahoma is holding anywhere from like 5 to 11% body fat, right? You're not a big old chubby guy, right? Playing running back at Oklahoma, you're low on the body fat side, and he was not. Right. So what does that mean in terms of performance? And you've talked about it, right? Guys, go listen to the summer series that we did when we hopped on OU Insider, had to fill some off-season time. Um, your times in the off-season matter to you playing in the games in the fall. That it's critical how you perform. And if he wasn't there, if he wasn't just meeting the basic KPIs, right, then he wasn't going to play. And then all of a sudden you start seeing him. Obviously DMAC, you spoke to the mental side, knowing the playbook, knowing your assignment, but on the physical side, you got to get there too. But I did see some people kind of talking about the red shirt stuff. Man, with his talent and skill level, I don't even know if he's there for that long, especially with the longevity of running backs. He is a 3 years and out. Like, OU fans are lucky that you got to see him this year, because we'll get him for 2 more years and then he'll be gone. So good to see. Obviously LSU is next. Closing thought, DMAC, I want to ask. Joe John Finley, with what he has done, has been, I won't say impressive. Impressive would have been going, because that would be a low bar for Sooners. So I'm not going to say impressive. But what he has done has certainly been solid given where OU was. They showed Jackson's numbers sort of pre the change, and then his numbers after the change. And we know the passing yards aren't good. Whoever comes in, if Jackson remains the quarterback at Oklahoma, there is a lot of development there that has to happen. We know having healthy receivers will certainly help, but there's a lot that's got to still occur for him to take that next step. But does a performance and what Joe John has done, and now you get a marquee victory where the offense was not the eyesore that it has been, and the game plan looked good. What kind of job do you see for Finley down the line?
I think it's a value add. I will say this: I don't think OU is a place where we should allow brand new coaches to cut their teeth. You should come to OU with some form of
Mm-hmm.
pedigree, whether you're an ex-ball player or, an ex-alumni or NFL dude. But I got to tell you, I am so impressed by what he's been able to do with the deck of cards that he's been dealt, the hand that he's gotten from that deck. Right, that deck is missing your top five receivers. That deck is built in with a makeshift offensive line, right? Like the ceiling is very low. And in the middle of the season, somebody throws the deck of cards and say, pick them all up and figure out how to put them back in order. Like that's what he's having to do. And if Jackson doesn't piss on his own down his own leg against Missouri, we probably win that game too. And if you're thinking about the Ole Miss game, we are very competitive for half a game that game too, right? And so Joe John is a guy who I think he's raising some eyebrows, in college football. I think he's a guy who, just based upon recommendations and how improved the offense is going to be first half of the season versus second half of the season, he's probably going to get a lower tiered power four job. I wouldn't be surprised if he's somewhere in a power four offense or play call position. He literally I think this is just my own personal opinion. I think he's earned the right for some schools. If not, he's definitely going to be in a Mountain West or a Sun Belt, or the in one of those one of those whack. I don't know what they've all kind of conglomerated into, but Joe John's a play caller. At the end of the day, he's a play caller. And if I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
he's at a big time program. He's got SEC roots, he's got Ole Miss roots, now he's got OU roots. I know that when somebody's having issues offensively in the next 2, 3, 4 years, assuming he can stay on this trajectory, he's going to be a guy who's going to be, demanding $2, $3 million because he's done a good job. And I want to just speak to today before I go really hardcore, but like Jackson is still not a two-dimensional player on offense. He has not proven he can do that. A sign of a good coordinator is a guy who can say, let me find out what you do well and put you in position to be successful. Today, Jackson
Mm.
didn't have to throw the ball to win. And that's primarily because our coordinator put in some wrinkles that it was very clear Bama hadn't practiced. And when the bullets were flying, they weren't 100% sure. Guys, that's coaching, which is why Joe John and Beaton Bowe need to be Gorilla Nuts player of the game.
Well, wonderful stuff, D-Mac. Yeah, I'm completely with you on the Joe John thing. I think he ends up just off of sheer keeping the continuity right, keeping the focus good. Like, just it almost just looks like somebody's got control of the room. And I guess we can also say, like, on the on the way out, it looked like Levy was right and had a good hunch for who needed to be calling the plays, right? Because that was, according to everything we've heard, that was Levy's recommendation. And sometimes when we talked about it with the Georgia, the OC, sometimes the people who are putting the pieces together aren't necessarily your best in game on the fly play callers, right? And there are some play callers who are great with a script, and then just crap the bed afterwards. And then some guys who just have a good feel for the game. And it seems like Joe John's got that. But Sooners get the win, 24. You beat Alabama by 3 freaking touchdowns. The goalpost
As a two-score dog,
as a
double-digit
two-score
dog.
dog. The OU has been solid against the spread this year. Right. I'm trying to. They've been. I want to go back and look at the record. I want to say they've maybe 3 losses against the spread. I'm trying to remember.
I got it.
Anyways, I bet that goalpost at this point is firmly in the duck pond right now.
By the way,
Fans rush.
that was lowbrow.
What?
5 and
What you
5
think
and 5
about
OU.
that?
That was so lame to me. 5 and 5 OU doesn't do
Okay.
that. We are not Mississippi State. We are not Okie State. Like, I get it, big win. I get it, ranked opponent.
Yeah.
I get it, Bama. But damn it, we wasted our. That's money we got to spend on teams that we should expect to beat in the future years. Cool moment. I guess it's probably every like cycle of students want to probably experience it, and they probably feel like this is a great time.
Sure.
It was more so the kids wanted to
Yeah.
experience, because you could see like there was the whole end zone's running, but I think the end zone is now part of the student section, and then that whole other side when they panned, no one's coming on the field. It's like the OGs, right? The
Yeah.
OGs that sit behind the players, none of them were rushing the field. So
Yeah.
I don't love it. I get it, have fun, all that cool stuff, but OU doesn't need to rush the field on a 5 and 5 season, or I guess a 6 and 5 season now. One last thing, I'm in
Man.
Memphis. I went
Yeah.
to
Go for it.
Tennessee today to speak to Hype's team. Man, it was a great time being out there in Knoxville. Beautiful stadium, beautiful stadium. Of course, they win 56-0. Of course, they can throw a pass. Of course, they've got 6'4", 6'5", and 6'6" receivers. I was just sitting there watching the game like, man, I can't wait till we're healthy and have a full functioning offense next year. But it was good to see him. He's got some guys over there that were coaches and or support staff while I was a Sooner. Josh is doing a great job.
Mm.
He wants me to come back and speak to his team in the summer, so that'll be cool. But
Very
good. It
cool.
was good to be out there. A lot of traveling. Planning on going to Oregon's. So my other buddy's the co-offensive
Ooh.
coordinator at Oregon.
Okay.
So they may even have Oregon State next week. I don't know who they have, but I plan on going to
Yeah,
see
because
a
they were
little one.
idle this week. They had a bye week this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they got their
Okay.
little Oregon War thing next week.
Okay. Very cool, man. And now Tennessee, not to speak too soon, but I think they control their destiny now. In the
By the way,
SEC.
they were all pissed off. Like, oh man, you know, they were asking. I was like, I think you guys are in good shape. And Florida hadn't beaten Ole Miss yet, and then obviously us beating Bama, no one was expecting that. I think there was one
Yeah.
other win somebody else lost that they needed. So,
Oh, the
kudos to them.
A&M. What was the A&M final? Because they went into
I don't
like 3 or
know.
4
I don't know.
overtimes. Let's check
I
that
don't
because I
know.
think that's the one that matters. Let's see. Fans, hit that thing in the comments real quick. We got
Here,
over 200
I'll look.
people watching tonight. Yeah. Well, want to thank everybody for hopping on. Just love the community. It's great on the losses too. You guys get after it, but
Oh, they
man,
get after
on
them the losses
wins,
for sure.
you guys are wonderful. It's
God
been
dang it!
so
My
A&M got
bad.
the victory.
Nah, I'm looking at my
Oh,
Lakers
A&M
we lost.
lost.
I'm
Oh,
looking at the Lakers.
the Lakers lost. That's funny. That's funny. Oh man. Let's see. Auburn won
A&M
in
lost.
OT. Yeah.
A&M
So
lost.
Tennessee, they control their destiny. If they win out, they're in the SEC championship game.
Nice.
And then that is wild. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Man, as always, want to thank you guys for hopping on the show. Go over to X, give us a follow. DMac is at D_Mac13. You can see it there at the bottom of the screen. Find me at BWise Fitness at letter B, WISE Fitness. And the show is at Barry and Mac SHW. And then also find us on Instagram at the Barry and Mac Show. And as always, y'all, show is brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a fancy pants membership. Go talk your mess, go have fun. You know, on Rivals, you guys can also do the $1 memberships. Go check out the Bama boards, right? They got 3 losses for the first time in like 15 years. So go over there, check that out, see how that's going. It's the first time in 13 years, DMAC, that Bama did not score a touchdown in a game.
Yep.
It's good for OU to be setting records for the good stuff. So fantastic, as always. Again, just the Sooner Nation, everybody who supports the show. Broke 200 tonight. Nice little feed there. Make sure to share the show, subscribe, hit the like button. Still got a lot of people who watch who have not hit subscribed. But man, thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you soon.
Let's do a part 2, bro. Let's do a part 2 tomorrow.